Hello, everybody. I think I'm going to call this one, What Was I Thinking? So, I talked about on my Easter video how I was going to be, I chose to go with my husband to his mother's funeral over going to Easter because he needed me there for the road trip, which is a 5-day road trip. Well, we planned it to be a 4-day road trip. It turned out it wasn't a 4-day road trip. It turned into a 5-day road trip. Now, typically before this trip, when we do family road trips, I would get my company to provide me a load to that area, and then I would take the truck and I would just meet my husband there, and he'd be the one doing the road trip with the family. This is a new experience for me because normally I'm not the one dealing with the kids on the everybody meets me there. So this one, I was actually helping, driving, doing the most of the driving for this trip. Now, being a truck driver on a family road trip, obviously it's in some ways different than most people with their family road trips, and some ways it's just the same. It's definitely different than driving a truck when you're driving a family. Completely different scenario. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. Okay, so, all right, so what we did is because, okay, let me backtrack. We've got 2 little girls. One is just turned 2, and one is, I think she turns 8 months tomorrow. Okay, and I knew, having kids on the vehicle, that we would have to be stopping every now and again. So I knew that in advance. So that changed my routing. My husband said that there was a way to go that saved us probably 30-40 miles on the way up there, and maybe some time, but it was a bunch of 2-lane roads with no real shoulders, no places to stop, nothing, it didn't have as many services on that road. So we took the longer road so that we could go the way that I knew, that had lots of truck stops, lots of places to stop to go get fuel, let the girls stretch, get them out of the car, that kind of stuff. So we did take the longer route. Basically, we took the truck routing versus the car routing. Even though we could have gotten away with the car routing, the truck routing gave us options that the car routing didn't. And we did have the GPS running, but mostly just for timing, because I knew the ways that we were going. Because obviously I've been driving trucks for 22 years. I know the freeway system fairly well, so I know which way I wanted to go. And the GPS eventually caught up to me. Now, along the way, because I drive trucks for a living and because I get fuel at truck stops, I get points for my fuel. So when I knew that this trip was coming up, I started saving up all the points that I could, so that we would have those for purchases on the road trip. So by the time we left, I had over $400 in points, and we used that for things like food, little toys for the kids to play with, water. We went through a lot of water. Just things that we needed along the way that we could get at truck stops. Now, we couldn't get everything at truck stops. We ended up going to Walmart a couple of times, but we were able to get what we wanted at the Walmarts without having to spend any money, because I had all those points saved up. So out there, took us 2 days. We planned on that. We figured it was going to be the first day out, our first stretch out. We wanted to kind of ease the girls into it. We planned on getting a motel room about halfway, and we did. We found a decent price motel room. Went to the motel. There was my husband, myself, my son, who's 27, and then the 2 girls. And my son was a godsend. He helped us out with the girls the entire road trip, so we didn't have to stop nearly as much. Okay, so there was 5 of us in the vehicle. It seats 6, and we were packed to the gills with stuff, more stuff that I think that car had more stuff than I do in my truck, and I live in my truck. But because of children, there's a lot of stuff you have to carry. Okay, so day 1, when the girls lasted about 8-9 hours before we had to stop and get a motel room. And then we finished up the next miles in the next day. We made it to the town that the funeral was in the night before, and we gathered with family, let the girls run around in the park. Well, I say girls, only one of them was running around in the park because the other one can't walk yet. But the 2-year-old got her first chance at a swing. She had a ball. She got to see some cousins. The baby was handed back and forth from hand to hand to hand. She never hit the... Well, we did put her on the ground for a little bit, but she didn't last there very long. So, sorry about the shaking. I'm in the dock. They are loading up my truck right now, and this is what happens when they're putting a forklift in the trailer. So, okay, anyway, so we got there the night before. We had a hotel room in that town. We got up, or we showered bathed the girls the night before, showered the adults in the morning, got the girls ready. We went to, did the funeral, spent some more time with family. From there, we went to visit my family, which is it's about 6 hours away. And we also visited the girl's brother. Now, we're adopting these 2 little girls. They do have an older brother that was adopted by another family. So we wanted to make sure that the girls could meet their brother. And we also got to see my mom, who's been vaccinated, so I was able to give her a hug. Which, I know that sounds cheesy, but yeah, I drove 2,500 miles in 5 days, just partly so that I could give my mom a hug. Okay, so we went down there. We had a picnic. We met at a park in not far from where they were living. Had a picnic. Let the kids play on the playground. The 2-year-old had a fit because she did not like the adults that were not her family, not the ones that she knew, and they wanted to play with her, and she did not want to play with them. So she ended up throwing a fit, and that ended up ending the visit. And then we went, and the plan was to drive straight from there home. It's about 12 hours. That didn't happen. We ended up stopping about halfway, but we did make it just back into Texas. We made it to El Paso before we stopped and got a motel room for the night and finished up the next day. Even with taking that extra day, we still got home at 11:30 at night, and then I had to pick up my truck this morning, the very next morning, from Freightliner, where it was parked at 7 a.m., which is when they opened, to get down here to do my pickup, which my pickup was scheduled for 7 a.m. Didn't happen. It's about an hour and a half away from home to get here, and with rearranging all the luggage and stuff, that was chaos and had to be done in a rapid rush. I hope I have everything. I'm pretty sure I do, but I don't know for certain yet. Now, differences in trucking versus road tripping with the family. I put a list down because this is pretty extensive. Okay, I already talked about my points. We averaged about 500 miles a day on the road trip, which is not bad, I guess, for a family trip. I like to do more, but we were stopping to let the girls out every 3-4 hours. We didn't want them getting saddle sores because of being in the car seat for 5 days straight, and we wanted to let the toddler run and burn off some energy to make things easier. Day 1, we didn't really have much in the way for her, but day 2, we finally got the tablet set up, and she was enjoying her favorite show is Pocoyo, something like that. She calls it Pollo. But for the last 4 days of the trip, she was completely and totally engrossed in Pollo. The whole trip. When she started fussing, we turned the video off until she calmed down, and then we start the video back up. Okay. Oh, the baby was miserable the entire trip. I mean, she was either sleeping or crying. There wasn't much in between. And she was inconsolable. We'd change her diaper, give her bottle, give her teething ring, giving her teething meds. You know, it was miserable. she cried a lot. I ended up having a migraine on the trip because of it. But it turns out when we got home, she had 2 brand new teeth that erupted. Her first 2 teeth, and they came in together. So it's understandable why she was miserable. She can't just do 1 tooth like most kids. She's got to be an overachiever and get 2 of them at the same time on a family road trip. It's awesome that she's got the teeth. I just wish it had happened before the trip or after the trip. The timing on it sucked. And we did have the option of leaving the girls at home. We had family that was willing to take care of them so we could do the road trip, which it probably would have been a whole lot easier to do it that way. But we decided that we would not go that route because we wanted this opportunity to get the kids to visit with family so that people who hadn't seen them yet could see them. And honestly, we didn't want anyone else to die without having a chance to see the girls. So, would I do it again? Absolutely. Was it hard? Absolutely. Was it worth it? Absolutely. But am I glad to be back to work? Oh yeah. Love those girls. Love my job. Back at work. Talk to you later. Bye.